There has been an update on the MrBeast situation. A employee that is still currently employed by MrBeast replied to all the allegations and accusations. And this video over here, which is titled, "The MrBeast team is imploding worse and worse," summed that up pretty well, so we're gonna take a look at that. Let's see what they have been cooking.
Video this time, less preparation, because this right here needs to get roasted. For anyone who doesn't know, a video came out somewhat recently from someone who claims to be a former employee of MrBeast, and that video contains about 53 minutes of content. Too long, didn't watch, that's totally fine, because I did my own summary breakdown, which I'll link down below in the description, with legal examples and a full description about the more meaningful claims, again, linked down below. But since all that happened, another member of the MrBeast team has come out with a statement, and that statement is absolute, irrefutable garbage that fails to address literally any of the important issues whatsoever, in yet another example of how to irreversibly screw up your own public reputation, speedrun.
Those are a lot of words for nonsense.
Just to clarify, this is yet again not a video about Ava Chris Tyson. That's a whole separate problem. There's a lot of really intense issues coming out with regards to all that, and inappropriate behavior, and Discord servers, and private messages, and Jimmy's involved, and the list goes on. But for me, the concept of running illegal lotteries, falsifying game show results, and breaking the law is a lot more immediately interesting when it comes to the world's largest YouTuber, who is renowned across the planet for his incredible generosity, despite the fact that every single bit of it appears to be for personal gain, nothing more. Anyway,
exactly.
The video came out from a former employee who claimed essentially three separate things. First, the game show videos are manipulated, directly impacting the integrity of the competition. Second, physical products, namely Feastables chocolate bars, are more akin to lottery tickets than actual merchandise, directly targeting children, which is a pretty severe ethical.
That's crazy. I would also say that was one of the worst allegations and worst accusations, which also ended up being true, by the way.
Properly, or otherwise violate a bevy of rules and regulations regarding sweepstakes law. In essence, the methods plural, by which MrBeast has risen to fame and fortune is intrinsically predatory, as it leverages child psychology for maximum profit. Pretty intense allegations, if you ask me. Adding this in postscript, because I just noticed, there was 5 hours of one of these live streams where they were doing all this stuff that was still up on Facebook, and now, after all of the news of this broke, they went and took that down too.
Of course.
So they are running around
Typical
trying
move.
To pull every single clip of footage of the stuff that
I bet MrBeast is currently running around from like lawyer team to lawyer team, trying to damage control the best way possible, because we haven't seen anything from MrBeast in the last 2 weeks,
including this one on Facebook. Yeah, that probably says something, don't you think? Well, in my own video, I discussed a couple of those same examples, like rigging a competition between boys and girls by directly removing one of the more skilled players on the boys' team in order to skew the results blatantly on camera. But before going back to some of the more hard-hitting infractions here, I want to read and discuss a statement made by Chucky, who appears to be a high-level MrBeast team member who has taken it upon himself to debunk these allegations with one of the worst responses you can possibly imagine. Normally I just read bullet points or summarize, but for this one I'm going to go point by point, one by one. Quote, "I quickly want to debunk some of the info in this video since the guy who made it was on my team. It was my decision to fire him for erratic behavior. He worked at the company for less than a month and wasn't an employee for most of the videos he mentions to have knowledge on. There's so much in this video, and I want to specifically address him saying our videos are fake or staged because this is not true, and I was on set for many of those videos." End quote. Okay.
Just because someone was only working for a month at a certain company doesn't mean they don't know about how the work environments are. And I think if you're working at a place, especially in a place that has like 400 employees, you also start talking with other people, and maybe they have shared their opinions or their feelings about certain MrBeast videos. So him trying to devalue the guy who exposed MrBeast by saying, hey, he just worked here for a month. A month is a lot in this situation. In a month, since MrBeast also stated many times that they are working on multiple projects throughout the year, he could have seen a lot in a month. He could have seen 6 or 7 videos in production in that month. So him trying to devalue that he just worked there for 30 days, that doesn't really work that well, in my opinion.
All right, cool, man. Let's hear it. Quote, "You won't get in a video unless you're family or friends with someone that works at Beast. This is a wild statement that can easily be proven wrong. There's probably hundreds or thousands of people who have no affiliation to friends/family of Beast employees. Think the 456 people in Squid Game or ages 1 through 100, etc. Jimmy doesn't more than like a dozen people, LOL." End quote. Response? Sure. In the grand scheme of his YouTube channel, MrBeast can certainly point to a multitude of examples where people that aren't directly on or affiliated with the production team were part of videos. There were other creators, there's verified instances where a few random fans were chosen for things or won very large sums of money. But here's an example of what that looks like.
All right. 2 ups.
Whoa, two?
You sure you don't want the cheaper one? I'm just messing. You got $1 million.
Yeah, he's rich, damn.
You have $1 million.
I don't believe this is real.
It is.
Man, this is crazy.
This is only a small percentage of what you have.
I don't even know how I'm gonna spend it all. This is unreal.
They gave this man 24 hours to spend $1 million. He did, while they crack jokes about how rich he is and all this other stuff. But a few years later, he came out and said this.
He did help me financially, but like giving me money for, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. That's why I'm trying to word it differently. But he did give me funds, but I just wish instead of like just, because it's okay to get funds, but to help me invest and to help me be able to be stable on my own without his money, you know? So that's probably one thing I would do differently too. That was the best example I can give you is when we had planned out the house and stuff. I literally had an hour. He had somebody come to my house and we sat down and we planned all this in an hour. Yeah, they came to my house and we planned this out in about an hour. So I wish I would have had more time, and I wish I would have did a couple things differently on the time management side, which I guess I really couldn't help because I had to spend it. I had to spend the money and I had to like do all this. So
Yeah, there's this thing called sudden wealth syndrome. It's a psychological phenomenon where people who don't typically have a lot of money suddenly acquire a very large amount of it and then proceed to make impulsive, irrational, or self-detrimental decisions, leaving them as bad or worse off than they were before at the end of it all. A lot of people probably know of this because when someone wins the Powerball or the lottery or whatever it is, they oftentimes end up back to being broke within a short span of time.
I watched a documentary about people winning the lottery in Germany. Most of them turned out to be broke again because they underestimated the costs that come with a big mansion, for example. The cost, there was one example of a dude who bought a yacht when he won. He won like 10 million, he bought a yacht. And the maintenance for the yacht, just keeping it at the harbor, keeping personnel on lock basically, that cost him 50,000 grand every single month. 10 years later, the 10 million was gone. Like, he was broke again. He was back on the streets. It's sad, really, but this is part of the syndrome. It's you buy all of the shit that you think you need, and then you understand you don't really need it, and you also don't really understand the costs that come with them, and then sooner or later you run out of money.
Because they're making really strange decisions because of sudden wealth syndrome. MrBeast gives out all this money, but he intentionally condensed the timeline for this winner to a point where he had zero hope of rational decision making. For the sake of pushing YouTube content, he completely destroyed any chance that this man had of having a truly responsible outcome, which would involve hiring a financial planner, setting up a retirement fund, investing in diversified assets, etc., all of which takes time. He intentionally disallowed that from happening. For the sake of making a video more exciting and more clickable for the Zoomer kids hoping to get rich someday off of him, he funneled this winner into a pathway of completely irresponsible decision-making. And I think we need to acknowledge that when we're discussing the random people who go on these game shows trying to win it big. Anyway, reading on. Next claim. The train track was CGI, the bus wheels are CGI, the pit is fake. He acts like he's exposing us for using CGI to make backgrounds look cool when we have done multiple public behind-the-scenes videos with So Crispy showing this. It's clearly not a secret. On top of that, we did drive buses in that pit, and same with the train that you claim we didn't. End quote. That part, in my opinion, is totally fine. I didn't raise that point in my own coverage because I think it's incredibly weak. Editing things so that the bus wheels look like they're spinning is relatively harmless, and doesn't strike me as a point that needed to be emphasized at all. Fair response, but Not even one of the more important details.
The raccoon was a
Reading on,
paid
the
actor.
raccoon was a paid actor. I don't even know what to say about this. Clearly not an actor, lol. End quote. That was a joke. The guy was making a joke. Responding to the joke as if it's serious is the hallmark of someone who actually can't respond to any substance. I'm sensing
Exactly.
the pattern here.
Yeah.
Bad look. Quote, island costs more than $1. Not true. We did pay $1 for this island. You can Google MrBeast purchases Outer Banks Island for $1, which stated this before the video was released. End quote. Yes, fact check, true. The island was sold for $1 with $27 in other taxes and fees afterwards, but that same
How?
island is now being leased back to the original owners. Not sure what to make of it, but fine. Island got sold for $1 as a gimmick. He's doing all right so far. Not the worst response ever, but he's not responding to anything of substance at all. Quote, he moved into a mansion 2 months before being in a video, $1 million mansion. He talks about how 2 months before we filmed the first Mac video that he moved into a mansion, Mac was staying at a friend's house, and I'm not sure how that proves anything or why it's relevant, end quote. That's not even a response, that's worthless, but also the initial claim is somewhat irrelevant as well, because this whole who works on the team and when storyline just doesn't matter. It's not hard hitting. Moving on. Quote, this wink was added in post. Bruh, he really did wink. This is a flat out lie again.
I don't even know what he's referring to. What
Maybe.
wink?
I don't know. Not a good look if the wink is real and it's one of the things he's claiming was added in post. If that's just a factual discrepancy there. Again,
What
not
wink?
good, but none of this matters. Chucky is picking around the edges. He's not even pretending to address
Exactly. I don't even
a
remember
single
the
thing that
claim
matters.
with
Down
the
below,
wink.
here he goes again, hyperfixating on stuff that means absolutely nothing. I'm actually going to skip this because it's a waste of mine and everyone else's time. But then finally, Chucky says something that matters about something that matters and completely blows up his own response. Quote, not only were the results of this video completely scripted, but the contestants are not random subscribers. He claims our 100 boys versus 100 girls video is scripted, and the proof is a random text saying it is, that's it. It was not scripted. Jimmy probably had countless people on set for that video, and it would have been impossible to hide. This video was not scripted. I was on set for this, and there was no bias for who won. He also implies the video is fake because we have some employees on each team. The employees in the video were there to fill in for people who tested positive for COVID last minute right before filming. Thea, Jimmy's girlfriend, mentioned this on a podcast over a year ago. If it wasn't for COVID, they would have not been in it. They had the same dollars on the line as everyone else. Some random text of someone thinking it was rigged doesn't mean it's rigged.
But he just said that it's random. It's not random subscribers. It's people Jimmy knows. And then he goes, Jimmy did not know about this. And his girlfriend, his literal girlfriend, is in that video. And he also admits that they were employees because the real subscribers, in quotation marks, they dropped out. But it doesn't matter because it doesn't refute the claim that the people that were participating were not random subscribers. What?
Rigged, LOL, end quote. There it is.
How
Right
dumb
there.
are you?
He completely destroys his own response, and let's showcase precisely why. There is no bias for who won. Wrong. Chucky, you are wrong. This is a lie. During that challenge, there was a twist where whichever team could solve 100 Rubik's Cubes
Oh, he made
first
his
would be
research. Look at
fine,
that.
But the loser would have their circle that they had to stay inside cut in half.
He also got hit with
influencing their
ads. That's
ability
funny.
to win the challenge overall. You can quibble about how much that change impacted their ability to win overall, a little bit or a lot, but it did impact them. During that Rubik's Cube event, let's call it, MrBeast identified publicly that there was just one boy and one girl able to solve the cubes. He makes a whole big deal out of it, actually. But then, again, right in the video, he says, we're going to make things interesting and offer the one guy in there who knows how to solve them $10,000 to leave the video, which he does. The boy leaves, the team is then quite obviously unable to continue competing in that event with any real chance at completing it, and MrBeast goes across to the girls' team and says, quote, I paid the one guy who knew how to solve them to leave. Now, if you don't win, that was all for nothing, so win for me. That's called bias, Chucky, you fucking moron.
That's
Also,
true. That is
wonderfully
true. You
enough,
cannot
it's a
deny
violation
that.
of
He's
47
totally right
USC
here.
509, which states it shall be unlawful by means of persuasion, bribery, intimidation, or otherwise to induce or cause any contestant in a purportedly bona fide contest
Oh, he made
of
his
intellectual knowledge or
research,
intellectual
dude.
skill to refrain in any manner from using or displaying his knowledge or skill in such contest, whereby the outcome thereof will be in whole or in part prearranged or predetermined.
Yeah, no
End
matter
quote.
how
The
much you
girls
like
did win
Mr.
the
Beast or
overall
Jimmy, you
challenge,
cannot refute
meaning that
this.
the only real
He's
question
totally right here.
is whether or not the world's largest YouTube channel with hundreds of millions of followers and views is governed by broadcasting laws, or if they are somehow immune to the governing regulations of game shows, traditional game shows, despite having a larger audience and higher prize money than any other similar program.
That is why this is a big issue. If he would have had a disclaimer at the beginning of his videos being like, all the participants are actors or former employees or employees of our company, and the outcomes are rigged or fake. I mean, not rigged or fake, but the outcomes are artificially done for entertainment value, then nobody would have complained. But the fact that he claims that everything in his videos are real, and there's a certain level of authenticity to it, that makes all of this like a little like facade that now has been blown to pieces.
To be fair, that question can actually be debated heavily. But what can't be debated is the fact that MrBeast directly influenced the challenge and the winning team in a biased way openly, which in part affected the results. Point blank, period, Chucky. The rest of the response is more useless garbage. He doesn't even make a passing attempt at refuting anything of substance, and the entire thing boils down to a simplified claim that the other guy is lying. MrBeast hasn't done anything wrong. But from where I sit, this is a pretty stunning example.
What about
of
the
someone
illegal
doing
lotteries,
things
though?
wrong that are predatory and unethical, as the metaphorical levee breaks and the world kind of wakes up to the fact of who they are and what they do.
And he also did not really address the situation that MrBeast claimed he wanted to tackle and battle obesity by having a very healthy alternative to Hershey chocolate bars. And then it turns out that his chocolate bar is exactly as unhealthy as a Hershey's chocolate bar. So how are you tackling obesity with a chocolate bar that is just as bad as Hershey's? Why is he not addressing that? Why is he not addressing all the illegal lotteries that he did with his t-shirt giveaways and whatnot?
Actually, the final outro is worth reading, and it goes like this, quote, Jimmy spends unfathomable amounts of money and time to ensure the integrity of what he does, and I hate to see it come into question with a bunch of lies. Dawson, if you leave this up, then you're a hypocrite, end quote. But from where I sit, it is painfully clear that MrBeast's competitions have zero
What's
integrity.
hypocritical about his
He openly
statements?
manipulates the results in a multitude of ways. There's many, many more examples. I told some of them in the prior video, which again is linked down below. But yeah, there's a bunch of examples. This debunking response is completely worthless, and the real substance of the initial video itself has nothing to do with just editing the videos. The real substance is selling merchandise on a live stream while you tell everyone someone who buys a shirt in the next 5 minutes will get thousands of dollars in the package, which causes people to spam buy your t-shirts, which
Exactly.
you bought from. And then when the 5 minutes are over, you say, wait, don't we owe someone money? Okay, someone who buys in the next 30 seconds will get the money in their order, thus invalidating the purchase of anyone who bought the shirt during those first 5 minutes.
I didn't even thought about it that way. He's totally right. That's super scammy.
That is, in no uncertain terms, illegal, okay? And it's further emphasized by the deletion of those live streams because they know it's illegal and they didn't want to face consequences for their predatory behavior.
That's actually crazy.
Gimmicky, horrible
That
tactics.
is crazy.
The MrBeast team is falling apart. Ava Chris Tyson is now a full-blown multi-viral scandal that just keeps on getting worse. The predatory reality of how they organize competitions and merchandise was not debunked. It was made exponentially worse by another employee now saying, there is no bias and Jimmy spends unfathomable amounts of money to ensure the integrity of what he does. But again, the atmosphere I see is one where a channel that pretty much always exploited people, hiding under an extremely thin and very disingenuous veneer of, but we give it all away, we're so charitable, while they get filthy rich off of underage gambling and people's desperation in the background, is now losing public support. I think it's deserved, but time will tell. That's it. Not sure if I'll cover the Ava Chris Tyson stuff. It's got about as much public scrutiny as humanly possible right now.
I gotta say, I was one of the people who actually defended MrBeast because of all the good things he allegedly did. But now this is, I don't think it's defendable anymore. And I hate to say it, but all the people that were very suspicious of him from the very, very, very beginning, the ones that I battled on Twitter, the ones where I said, you are just jealous, those people actually ended up being right. So I apologize for all the people who were not blinded by all the alleged alleged good things that MrBeast and his team did. You were right. Congratulations.
Anyway, so it's not like I'd bring anything unique or new to the table, but this angle seems to be quite a bit less well known, so it felt worth it. If you want to support the channel, there's links down below, a special VPN deal, locals in Patreon, and more, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching.
That was a fantastic summary, and well. I said a couple of days ago, actually when all the Ava Chris Tyson situation happened, I said 3 things. Ava Chris, Dr. Disrespect, and potentially MrBeast as well if he knew about it. But now I feel like it's almost confirmed that he knew about the situation, so I'm gonna say it, fuck Jimmy and fuck MrBeast. You disappointed all of us. I would love to hear your opinion about it. What do you think? And if you liked this video, as always, please make sure to subscribe, give this a thumbs up, and please leave a comment. I'd like to have a discussion with you in the comments. If you disagree, if you think MrBeast is still the best guy out there, leave a comment. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.